Hello and welcome to the Bearded Math Man's YouTube channel. Hey, in this video, what it is that we're going to be doing is finding y-intercepts for any quadratic equation. So any quadratic equation, I'd like you to be able to find the y-intercept. All right, so let's get started. First thing I want you to understand is that all quadratic equations have exactly one y-intercept. So what you see right now is I just did a screen capture of a Google image search of graphed quadratic equations. That's what I typed in, did an image search. So we got a bunch of examples. Every single one of these graphed equations, they're all called parabolas. They all have exactly one y-intercept. Like this one right here is at 0, negative 1, 2, 3, 4. 0, negative 4. This one's at 0, 0, 0, negative 2. This one, we can't see it. We can't see what the y-intercept is going to be, but there is going to be one. We just can't see it on that scale of the graph. This one has one at 0, 5. And do you see that for all y-intercepts, the x-coordinate is always 0? In fact, not picking on this person at all, but I have a problem with this. See, it says y equals negative 3, which is true, but the point is 0, negative 3. And all y-intercepts are always a coordinate. Like this y-intercept right here would be 0, 8. So first thing I want you to understand, always and forever, every single quadratic equation has exactly one y-intercept. Second thing I want you to know is y-intercepts are a coordinate, and the x-coordinate of that y-intercept is always 0. So it's always 0 and then a number, right? And we use that to help us learn how to find a y-intercept. So the way we find a y-intercept, all you got to do is you have to take the x, replace it with 0, and solve for y. So like, for example, we have here 3x squared minus 2x plus 8. On the graph, you can see that the y-intercept is 0, 8. The way you would find that algebraically, if you didn't have the graph, is you would just take and you would put a 0 for x. So you put a 0 for x, and then you just do the solution. 0 squared is 0, times 3 is 0, minus 2 times 0, that's still 0. That's 0 minus 0. So the y-intercept is 0, 8. That's the way it works every single time. So once again, just replace x with 0, solve for y. There's a shortcut I'll show you here in just a second, but you see, put a 0. This is 0 times 4 is 0, minus 0. That's just 0. So the y-intercept is 0, 0. Boom, done. Let's talk about standard form. Standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c, right? The way we find the y-intercept is always the same. The way we say it in English is just replace x with 0, solve for y. In math, this means the same exact thing. F of 0 means take x, replace it with 0, see what you have left. Solve for y, basically, right? So let's do an example. X squared minus 3x minus 1. If we're going to find the y-intercept, we put a 0 for x, you see? And we solve for y. So all you got to do is follow the order of operations. Super easy on this one. I mean, they're all zeros, so it's just negative 1. So your y-intercept is 0, negative 1. Now, from standard form, there's a shortcut. Whatever c is your y-intercept. From standard form only. From the other forms, you actually have to do a little math, but from standard form, whatever c is, that's your y-intercept. The only thing you really got to be careful of is to not confuse yourself. Don't just say negative 1. Negative 1 is not the y-intercept. The y-intercept is a coordinate, not a single number. And the reason that's important, there's a whole bunch of coordinates you need to find when you're graphing quadratic equations. And so if you write down just a number and not a coordinate, you're going to get yourself super, super confused. So just do yourself the favor of writing it as a coordinate, and then you stay out of trouble. See? All right, now, let's talk about vertex form, shall we? Vertex form is x minus h squared plus k. It's really handy because you can just look at it and find the vertex. If you don't know that, you'll see it here in the very near future, right? But this last number is not the y-intercept at all. This is not standard form. If you put a 0 in for x, you don't just end up with this. You end up with something totally, totally different. So let's see how that works, right? So once again, to find the y-intercept, put a 0 for x. Let's do an example. Let's do this one right here. F of x equals negative 3, and then times the quantity x plus 5 squared minus 8. Let's plug in a 0 for x. We only have one x right here, right? Plug in a 0. And then all we got to do is follow the order of operations, right? So we have to do the parentheses first. That just gives us 5. And then we have to do exponents second, right? 5 squared is 25. You could probably do this part in your head, of course, right? But just following the order of operations, parentheses first, and then exponents, and then multiplication. Negative 3 times 25 is negative 75. And then is addition and subtraction, 83. So your coordinate of your y-intercept is going to be 0, comma, negative 83. Boom, done. Really not too bad, right? So, piece of advice. If you're going to be graphing a quadratic equation, thing you're going to start off with first is finding the y-intercept because it's the simplest. Most of the time, there's nothing easier. So always start off with that. That way you at least get something done correctly and you can move forward, all right? Now, on my website, I'll put a link in the description below, thebeardedmathman.com. I'll post a link in the description below that you can go to that you can read notes on this topic, and you can also try some practice problems and see this video and some other videos as well that kind of review it. So give it a shot. If this video was helpful, give it a thumbs up, share it on social media. Hope you guys are having a great day. Hope to see you soon.